There's a pretty good chance you're watching this on one right now. A laptop. We use them every single day, they're everywhere. But if you've ever really stopped to think about the sheer engineering wizardry that's packed inside that little slim case, well, today we're going to pop the hood and see how it all actually works.
I mean, it seems like a simple question, right? How on earth do you take all the raw power of a big, bulky desktop computer and shrink it down into something you can just slide into a backpack? The answer is a totally fascinating story of innovation. And the secret? Well, it's not magic. It's actually a series of brilliant, and I mean brilliant, engineering trade-offs. While laptops are amazingly portable and power efficient, every single component inside has been completely rethought and redesigned in this constant delicate balancing act. So here's the fundamental puzzle. Desktops have all the space in the world, right? Plenty of room for beefy components, big fans for cooling, you name it. Laptops, they have to achieve so much of that same performance in a tiny fraction of the size, and that forces engineers to solve some major challenges.
And really, it all boils down to three core problems. Three fundamental hurdles that define pretty much every single aspect of laptop design. First up, you've got space. I mean, how do you cram everything in there? Second, power. How do you make this thing run for hours without being tethered to a wall? And third, maybe the trickiest of all, heat. How do you stop this tiny, powerful box from, cooking itself? So let's see how they did it. Okay, let's dive in. We're going to look at the key components inside a laptop and see the specific, super clever ways they were redesigned to tackle those three challenges: space, power, and heat, head on. First up is the processor, the CPU. This is the brain of the whole operation, doing all the heavy lifting. Now, in a desktop, it's got a big fan, a giant heatsink. It's all designed to stay cool. But in a laptop, that much heat in such a tiny enclosed space is a massive, massive problem. The solutions they came up with here are just incredibly clever. To deal with heat and power, laptop CPUs are just smarter. They run at lower speeds to save energy, and they can even go into these sleep modes when you're not doing much. And to solve for space, they're mounted directly to the motherboard using something called a micro flip chip ball grid array. Yeah, I know, it's a mouthful, but the idea is simple. Instead of bulky pins, it uses teeny tiny solder balls. It's genius, really. All right, so the brain is sorted. Next up, memory and storage. And just like the CPU, these guys had to shrink down dramatically, all while sipping power. This forced another complete redesign to solve that space and energy puzzle. So to save that precious internal real estate, laptops use smaller memory modules called SODMMs. Their hard drives are also physically smaller, and they often spin more slowly than desktop drives, which saves power and, you guessed it, produces less heat. And a lot of laptops use a modular bay. This is an incredibly slick design that lets you swap out, say, a DVD drive for an extra battery. And this modularity leads to this fantastic feature called hot swapping. It's the ability to literally pull one component out and pop another one in without even turning the computer off. It just goes to show, it's not just about shrinking the parts, it's about making them smarter and way more versatile. Of course, let's be real. None of this would even matter without the single component that truly defines a laptop, the battery. This is what finally liberates the computer from the wall socket. But wow, battery technology itself has come a long, long way. The batteries in the first laptops were nothing like the sleek, long-lasting power sources we have today. The evolution here is pretty fascinating. So, early nickel-cadmium batteries, or NiCad batteries, they suffered from something called the memory effect. Basically, if you didn't fully discharge them before you plugged them in again, they would forget their full capacity. You literally had to drain them completely every single time. Today's lithium-ion batteries? A completely different world. They're lighter, they last way longer, and you can charge them whenever you want. No penalty. This was an absolute game changer for portability.
So, with all this innovation, where did the laptop actually come from? Well, the idea of a personal, truly portable computer is probably a lot older than you think. The dream really started way back in the 1970s with a concept called the Dynobook. The first real taste of it came in '79 with the Grid Compass, a machine so futuristic and so expensive that pretty much its only customer was NASA for use on the space shuttle. But the portable computer finally reached the rest of us in 1986 with the IBM PC Convertible. And that first commercially successful portable computer, get this, it weighed a staggering 12 pounds. That's about 5.4 kilograms. We're talking the weight of 3 or 4 of today's sleek Ultrabooks combined. It's just incredible to think about how far we've come.
But here's the thing. Despite its incredible weight, the IBM PC Convertible gave us something truly iconic. It introduced the clamshell design, a screen that folds over a keyboard. And that wasn't just for looks. It was a revolutionary idea because it protected the two most vulnerable parts, the screen and the keyboard, while creating this perfect, self-contained unit that is still the universal standard today. So after looking at all these components and this crazy history, what's the big picture here? Why does all this stuff really matter?
Well, the big takeaway is this. A laptop isn't just a small computer. It is a collection of absolutely brilliant solutions to those 3 core problems we talked about: space, power, and heat. This relentless fight against the laws of physics has pushed technology forward in ways that benefit all of us, creating smaller, more efficient, and more powerful components. These clever compromises are the very reason you can carry an entire office, your entertainment, your whole life in your backpack.
Which kind of leaves us with one final thought to chew on. We've managed to conquer space, power, and heat to create the modern laptop. As our technology continues to shrink, to get even smarter and more woven into our lives, what do you think is going to be the next great hurdle for engineers to overcome?